classes. Students, today we are going to start one of our another chapter from class 6 in history. That is our chapter number 4, what books and burials tells us. Students, how do we come to know about our past? What is the life of the people, what people used to thought about various other things. We used to know about them with the help of certain books. In this chapter, we specially focused or read about religious books and especially Hindu religious books which are named as Vedas. In Hindu religion, Vedas are of much importance, so we are going to study about them in this chapter in detail. And then second is your burials. Now what are burials? After a person died, we used to bury the dead body deep inside the ground. That is the burial spot, the place where we are burying that dead body. So from that burials or from that dead bodies also, we used to got various things or varied information about the people who used to live in past. So let's study students. Now first one is, you can see here, one of the oldest book, not only in India but in the world, is our Vedas, Hindu Vedas. They are very much famous. I told you what are Vedas. They are religious books, especially belongs to Hindu religion, and they carry much information, knowledge in them. If we say we have total 4 Veds with us, and these are the Rig Ved, the Sam Ved, Yajur Ved and Adharv Ved. And the oldest among them is the Rig Ved. Now, if we talk about Rig Ved, then Rig Ved includes thousands of hymns. What do you mean by hymns? Hymns means poems, bhakti geets in it. Which hymns are always written in the praise of gods or goddesses. In which way these are written, or about which Ved I am talking about? About Rig Ved. Thereafter what is said here, like I told you that we are writing the suktas, or you can say our preachers, our priests used to write about these Veds in detail or about various gods and goddesses that we used to worship, especially the Hindu. Now let's see about these gods and goddesses in detail. The first one is Agni God. Agni God is the god of fire. Student, you have seen this thing and you are very much familiar about this concept, that whenever we used to go through with any auspicious occasion, like you can talk about marriages, we used to have Agni prevalent there. So Agni is very important god for us. And then is Indra god. Indra god is warrior god. Indra god is known as warrior god, or one who is known for fighting. Then is your Soma. Now what is Soma? Soma is basically a plant from which we used to prepare a special kind of drink. Now moving ahead students, I already told you what are hymns. These are poems or the bhakti songs which are written in the praise of gods and goddesses. We studied about various gods and goddesses. Now the question is, who used to compose these hymns? These hymns were basically composed by sagas, or we can call them as rishi. In India, there is very big significant role of rishis and munis. These rishis were responsible for these composition of these Veds. Thereafter student, one more question is there. The question is, in which writing or in which wording these Veds are written. Generally these Veds are written in Vedic Sanskrit or in old Sanskrit. Vedic Sanskrit or old Sanskrit is not the usual Sanskrit that we are reading today. That was very much different from the Sanskrit or from the language that we are reading today. And very difficult words were there with great extent, with hidden meanings in them. Thereafter, and we also know these things, that nowadays writing a book, publishing a book is a very easy concept because we have new techniques, new printing machines available with us. But if we talk about old times, it was very difficult to write a particular Ved or to write a particular book because people or these rishis used to write them with the help of their own hands. So that is difficult for them. Now the next topic is how historians study the Rig Veda. How historians, archaeologists used to study the Rig Veda. Basically what happened, our historians or archaeologists, they find various remained material. Remained material means all the material which were left behind. So our historians studied those material, and after studying those material, they come to know about Rig Veda. They know about what is being written in Rig Veda. And when they read Rig Veda, what they observe that in Rig Veda, mostly hymns. I already told you what are hymns. Means poems or bhakti songs which are dedicated to all the gods and goddesses. So all the hymns which are written in Rig Veda are generally in the form of dialogues. The dialogues between whom? Dialogues between these sagas or rishis, between two rishis or between two sagas or between the famous rivers also. You have seen in Mahabharata, in Ramayana also, Gangama, conversation between them. So one famous dialogue conversation is also given here between one of the saga or one of the rishi named Vishwamitra and two rivers which are Bees and Satluj. So their dialogue composition is given here. With the help of that, people used to come to know about the concept, the knowledge, the words which are given in Rig Veda. The next topic is cattle, horses and chariots. Now see students, there are many prayers in the Rig Veda. Prayers means many writings are there which are evidenting, which are providing us evidence that people used to have cattle with them, people used to have horses with them. Now you are very much familiar with the word cattle and the horses, but the new word is chariots. Now who are the chariots? In the last chapter also we studied the person who is riding the horse, who is handling the horse is the chariot. Now he can handle this horse during the war of conflict, during the time of conflict or during the time of war. They used to hold a sword in their hand and are sitting on the horse and are fighting. And sometimes these chariots also used to perform the sacrifice, like in case of Ramayana where we see Ram's chariot used to go from all the places so that Ram can make assure this thing that all the kingdoms are ready to accept Ram as their king. So the question was, who was chariot? The person who was riding the horse, who was handling the horse during the fighting, during the wars or for some other purpose is chariots. Now I already told this thing to you that how chariots uses this horse. They use these horses to capture cattle of their enemies or of different kingdoms, to capture land or for different purposes. That means during the time of wars or fighting. Now the question is why these kings used to fight with each other while there was scenario of battle. That was because of capturing people, because of capturing wealth, because of capturing resources of their opponent or of the other kingdom. That is why they used to attack each other. Now, what is said here, that some wealth was used for the performance of yajnas. Yajnas means sacrifices. Now, in earlier time, what used to happen, basically the priest or the upper caste people, so-called Brahmins, they used to say to Rajas to perform certain sacrifices for their benefits, to gain blessings from the god. Nowadays also we used to see that when we used to do yajna or havan, priests used to suggest us that sacrifice in the form of grains, ghee, etc. So what was this? These all are sacrifices which were made by the king, and these can be in the form of ghee, grains, cases, animals, anything can be sacrificed as per the suggestion of the priest or the Brahmins. And why all this is done? Obviously to have more peaceful life. Thereafter, if we talk about the last era, then we can see that at that time the king was not having regular army. Like nowadays we are having regular army. Now you can see that very contradictory situation is there between nowadays between China and India. So we have ready-made Indian army ready with us, so that in case of any attack problem we can serve our army. But in earlier time, kings were not having ready-made army, that is already ready army with them. Instead of having army, what kings or what ordinary people or what people used to do is they used to assemble together at a particular place in the form of ganas or sabhas. In sabhas, when these people are coming together, they take decisions on various issues, on various problems that people are facing, and what steps can be taken to solve these problems. Thereafter, students, next is words to describe people. In early times, students, what used to happen, peoples are described on the basis of the work done by them, on the basis of their occupation. As what is mentioned here, that there are two groups which are described on the basis of work. The first among them is the priest group. They are sometimes also called as Brahmins, and they always perform various rituals. What do you mean by rituals? Rituals means traditions. Priests or Brahmins are always responsible for doing various rituals or for performing various traditions. And the second one is Rajas, who are Rajas, of course, who are handling the whole empire. Thereafter, as I already told you, that they were not having proper armies, proper palaces or cities, and as they are not having proper armies, proper palaces or cities, they don't need much money for them to serve their people. And when they are not needing much money, they were not collecting even taxes from the people. Nowadays you are seeing the government used to collect tax from us. Why? Because government want to serve us. The amount which is collected from us is used by the government for our welfare only. But in the previous time, as no army requirement was there, people were living peacefully, less resources are required. That is why what was observed is generally the king did not used to collect taxes from the ordinary people. Thereafter, students, what is said here, generally the words were used to describe a group of people, a particular community, a particular society as a whole. For example, if we are talking about Brahmins, that doesn't mean that we were talking about a particular individual. No, we were talking about a particular community, a particular society, the whole society, who were engaged in giving teaching or practices or engaged in performing various rituals for Rajas. The next is some other terms are also there, like Vaishyas, from where the word Vish comes, which basically stands for poison. And about Vaishyas we are going to study further in chapter number 5. So let's study more ahead. Some more terms are there regarding Jana. Now we need to understand the meaning of the term Jana. What do you mean by the term Jana? The term Jana means people. People were called as the Jana of a kingdom, of the empire. Thereafter, students, now see one example is given here. Yadu Jana, who were Yaduvanshis, the persons who belongs to Krishna's, Lord Krishna empires, they were Yaduvanshis. Yadu Jana means all the people, all the person who were living as Yaduvanshis under Lord Krishna are Yadu Jana. Jana basically stands for people. Thereafter, students, some other thing is there. Do any of these names sound familiar? Okay, sometimes what happen, I told you regarding hymns, na, sometimes while using those persons who used to describe themselves or who used to write these hymns, they used to call themselves as Aryans. And as they are writing Aryans, as they are writing compositions, as they are writing hymns in praise of the gods and goddesses, they are called as the Aryans. On the other hand, they have their opponents. Basically, these opponents used to serve Aryans. Aryans are upper caste people, Dasas and Dasis were lower caste people. Now the question is, who were Dasas, Dasyus or Dasis? They were basically called as the servants. They used to serve the king, they used to serve the Aryas, and generally they were defeated or captured during the situation of war. And they used to serve the people, they used to serve their owners in the way the owner wants to do work for them. So who were Dasa and Dasis? I hope it is clear to you. They were servants who worked for their owner free of cost. Thereafter next is Silent Sentinels, the story of the megaliths. Now again student, we need to study about megaliths. So let's divide it into two parts. Mega plus liths. Mega means big, very big, and liths means stone. So if we arrange them together, we found big plus stones. So megaliths means very big stones. Very big stones are called as megaliths. Now the question is, where are these megaliths found? You remember student, in the starting of the chapter I told you about burial sites where dead bodies were buried. You have seen this thing in various movies also, especially in case of Christians, that when they were buried in a particular their person, they used to carry or put a particular very big stone called megaliths over them, which contain the complete information about that person. Where was that person born, when that person died, what was the achievement of that person, etc. So that is what said here, that we use these megaliths at various burial sites to give description, to give knowledge about that particular person who was buried there. You can see here one particular burial site is shown in this example also. Thereafter what is said here, a circle of stone is built here. You can clearly see in this diagram, and these stone pits are there, and one, you can say, particular direction holder is also shown here, which used to represent about the person who was buried here at this site. Now what is said here, you can see here, what used to happen, that generally all the burial sites have certain common features. Now what are these? That they are buried. These buried sites contain certain common things like coats, which are of black and red wear, certain tools also, like weapons, skeletons, food items also. Now the question is, why these skeletons, these weapon tools, sometimes ornaments also, and various things are kept there in the burial sites? Why? The reason is that in earlier times, people believed in the concept of life after death. That is why they used to keep all the essential items that a particular person needs when a person died along with him or her. Now see students, I told you that these sort of materials were found in various burial sites: gold, silvers, ornament, horses, animals, copper, silver, etc. Now the question is, what these things tell us? When our archaeologists, when our historians see these things, these objects, then they find one thing. And what was that thing? They find that in earlier time also, people belong to different social background. People have different social differences. That was, some people were very rich and some people were very poor. If you talk about the category of rich people, all the burial sites where gold ornaments, silver ornaments, currencies, these were found. Definitely they belongs to Raja, or they belongs to high caste people. On the other hand, in the burial sites where normal, common pots are found, animals, skeletons are found, they belongs to ordinary man. So this is how we come to know about the social difference at that time. Where were some burial spots meant for certain families? Now see students, what happened? Generally, all the royal families, we can talk about the Raja family, noble families, what they used to do, they used to reserve a particular graveyard or particular burial site on their name. What does that mean? If any member from that royal family is passing away, is getting died, he or she would have been, you can say, buried at that particular place only, because that place was reserved for that particular noble family or rich family. That is what said here, that some sites or some spots were reserved there, and there various port holes were also there, port holes through which you used to carry the graves or the dead bodies, and signposts are also there. Now what is the role of signpost? Signpost basically depict or provide information that this particular graveyard or this particular place belongs to this royal family, and these dead bodies or these persons are buried at this location. The next is a special burial at Imagaon. Now I told you that what was burial sites. Now one particular burial site was observed at Imagaon. This was one of the sites on river Gond, and which is the tributary of Bhima. And but we can say that adults were generally buried in the ground, laid out straight. At Imagaon, generally adults were buried straight inside the ground. And what is observed that they used to follow a particular pattern while burying the dead body. Now what was the pattern? That the head of the dead body must facing towards the north direction. And sometimes it is also found that some places were there at Imagaon where at homes only people have buried the dead bodies, kept the burial spots at their homes only. Now, one man was, and if it, one example is also given here, that one man was found buried in a large 4-legged clay jar in the countryside of a 5-roomed house. In a 5-roomed house, one man was found buried there. So this shows that that was a very huge place, one of the biggest burial site. You can see 5-room store is big store is used to bury a particular person only. So that's what explained regarding Imagaon. The houses had a granary and the body was placed in a crossed-legged position. So these are the particular patterns that were followed to bury the dead bodies at Imagaon. That head of the person must follow the north direction, leg must be placed in crossed position, and some other things. Some of the people built, you can say that burial site at their home only. So these are the things that were found at Imagaon, the burial site. Then is occupation at Imagaon. What was the work that people used to perform at Imagaon? How we can come to know about that what work people used to do at Imagaon? Our historians, our archaeologists find certain things at Imagaon. They find millets, pulses, peas, sesame, which shows that they were engaged in growing all these things. They find various animals also, which finds that they were also involved in rearing animals like ass, pig, horse, dog, sheep, etc. Fish, crab, and various trees were also found at Imagaon like amla, jamun, ber, etc. So these are the things that our archaeologists, our historians discovered from Imagaon, which suggest that these are the occupation or these were the work that people used to perform at Imagaon site. So that's it about our chapter, students. Now we will discuss about the question answers. So let's start, student. Our first question is match the following, in which you can say what do you mean by sutta. Sutta means well said. Then is your chariots, I already told you they were used in battles. Then is your yajna, I told you yajna or sacrifice. Then is case, slaves. Megaliths, these were called as stone boulder. The next is you have to complete these sentences. Slaves were used for do whatever work their master wanted. I told you they had to do the work whatever their owner want to get them from. Then is megaliths were found in Deccan in South India, in Northeast and in Kashmir. Then is stone circles or boulders on the surface were used to indicate that there were burial beneath. Wherever they were kept, that was to indicate that this is a burial site. The next is portholes were used for entering the burial places. I told you na, while we used to carry the dead body, we used to carry portholes. Then is people at Imega ate, we discussed all these things already, barley, wheat, peas, etc. In what ways are the books we read today different from the Rig Veda? I already told you. The text, the language that is written in today's book is very much different from the earliest text. Vedic Sanskrit or old Sanskrit was written there. The next is, what kind of evidence from burials would archaeological use to find out whatever there were social differences among those who were buried? I already told you. At some burial sites, gold ornament, silver ornament, heavy jewelry, these are found. On the other hand, with some burial site, common things like you can say pots or horses, skeletons, these were found, which indicates about social differences, about people being rich or poor. The next is, in what way do you think the life of Raja was different from that of Dasa or Dasi? You can write these points from your own only. Rajas were the owner and Dasas and Dasis were the servants and under the Raja. So they had to do the work whatever the Raja wanted to get that work done from them. So I think that's it about our chapter, students. I hope you got the concept very well and the chapter is done here. So thank you, students.